Afternoon, you're all very welcome to our second edition. Didn't think the first would go so well, but the second edition in our special Any Given Runday podcast. Last week we listened to Oran Murphy, who eventually surpassed the 12,500 mark for raising money for Triathlon, running his marathon in the estate. Again, we'll start off this show by thanking everyone who donated to him. It was an absolutely amazing feat, and really thankful for everyone. And we know that the charity will be thankful. And it was absolutely amazing. Everything about it was brilliant, and Oran was brilliant. But we kind of got this concept that, you know, Oran, as we said last week, kind of one of my heroes in terms of getting me into the flying. This week now, I've said the word hero, and I kind of regret it because I can see you smiling and laughing at me. But someone who got me into the running, shall we say, I'm joined with, and that is Tom Dixon. How are you, Tom?
Not too bad. How are you, Eric?
I'm not too bad. You swear it's been more than 2 hours since I've seen you. Now we're acting like we haven't seen each other in weeks.
Yeah, I'm missing you already here. I suppose, a big thank you to Oran Murphy with all his fundraising last week, and pure inspiration during these times. But I suppose you had to follow one Wexford man with another Wexford man. It just shows you how much of an influence Wexford people have had on you over the years.
You can tell I went with the lesser Wexford man second.
It's very true. It's very true.
Tom, we know each other the guts of 4 years now.
Yeah.
We're thereabouts.
It's been a journey.
How did you end up stuck with me on this running journey?
I ask myself that every day. I suppose, first of all, a disclaimer before we go on. We are not professional athletes. We're not semi-professional athletes.
Absolutely not.
We definitely inspire to be, but we enjoy the lifestyle of training and maybe endurance running, and at the minute triathlon. So how did I get into running with you? Well, I met you in a godforsaken place down in Kildare.
Mordor, is it?
Mordor, down on the Curragh Plains, where I suppose we started our military training together. And for me anyway, it was an introduction into endurance training, and definitely something that I was not used to from my background, but definitely gave me good foundations going forward for training that I've done in more recent times.
Yeah, as you said, there was an introduction to endurance training for you. It was an introduction into training for me. So so you were the fit, young GAA farmer from Wexford, full of talent. I had the belly on me. And all of a sudden, we were being put head to head to try and keep up with each other, and we both know who suffered more. So, it was but you are right though, and we're probably going to touch on. It's not about me being fat and where I am, but in terms of the reason why I have you on is, I always looked up to people like you when we were down there because I was so amazed by your fitness and your ability to keep going. And it's interesting for me to hear you that was your first introduction to endurance training. You just had a natural fitness, but how did you get to that point in life, or what did you do through your teenage years to get to that point where a lifestyle in a military training environment was a challenge, but wasn't too difficult?
I suppose my introduction to any kind of training or physical activity was through GA, and mainly through playing hurling and football through my local club at home, Crossbeg Balmorn in
a big shout out to the lads.
Big shout out to the lads all at home. But yeah, over the years, you know, as you have with Connor speaking on the Mondays, there's big fitness elements to GAA, both club level and inter-county level, college level, whatever. And I suppose as we got older and into the older age groups, you know, the early months of the year were important for fitness, and it was one thing that our club had in particular was great trainers around fitness and around particularly running training and getting yourself match fit. We had a guy kind of started in around under 16 level, and he felt that the best way to train to get yourself up to the distance that you will be required to run during a match. Now, obviously, it'll depend on, you know, whether you're in the goal or you're in midfield or back line or forward line, you know.
I would have been the goalkeeper.
But in fairness, he treated everyone the same, and everyone had to do the training at the beginning of the year. And essentially the goal, the end goal was 10 kilometers. So we would do, I think it was maybe 2 to 3 running sessions during the winter, a week, and be mixed up from 6K to 10K, and we were doing it for 8-10 weeks. We actually finished it with a 10K event. It was in, I can't actually remember where exactly it was, but it was somewhere at home in Wexford. But there was a lot of guys that were very, very strong runners coming out of that. But definitely it gave me kind of a bit of a love for running outside of GAA, and kind of led me on to, I suppose, different avenues going forward, because I really liked the area of, I suppose, seeing how far you could push yourself over a distance while running, Now,
I remember we were on a couple of runs there a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about how far I've come along since we started running. And I asked you, like, at what point did you realise, like, I could run further than 2K, I could run further than 4K? And you run around, what's that useless beach in Wexford there that you have there?
Probably the number 1 beach in Ireland for the last 2 years running.
Yeah. What's the name
the wonderful playground that is Coraclough and
that kid,
and the Raven.
Sorry to all the Wexford people.
Nature Reserve. Big shout out to the lads.
You had a little run there where you do 2K out.
Yeah.
What was the story behind that?
So I suppose I got my first car when I was 17. I grew up on a farming background, so I was always running around doing errands for my father. So it was kind of a priority at home that I get a car, so my parents weren't dropping me to A, B, and C. But I suppose at the time, to be useful, taken advantage of. Pick me down from the pub at 12 or 1 in the morning. But I suppose the added bonus of that, I suppose I had goals at the time as regards my fitness and where I wanted to go with GA at that time. And I felt that the running training that I had been doing had been particularly advancing my game. And then there was also a part of me that was wanting to train for the fitness requirements for the military to get in. And I used to drive down to Coraclough as much as I could. I suppose at that time maybe I was going down maybe 2 or 3 times a week, but there was a particular route, and the distance I started with was, the aim was always I suppose about 4K is what I used to start with. And at that time as well, we were training with the club, as I was saying, and I kind of quickly realised through, the more time I was investing in this, the more I could realise, first of all, that I could run quicker over a shorter distance, and that I was getting, naturally fitter. Yeah. And then the second point was, well, actually, I might be able to run 5K today, or I might be able to run 6K. There was actually... and I still run by it, and I do as much training as I can down there. Now, obviously not at the minute with COVID, but there's a post down there that has a 2.2 kilometer marker on it. And I suppose when I was 17, I was able to run by that post one day and run a couple of extra kilometers. And every time now that I'm down training, when I run by that post, I'm like, yeah, I've come a long way from the struggle that it would have been to run that distance originally, Oh,
you definitely just give the finger to the post now. You said that.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing. Essentially,
yeah.
Took live video as I run by, like.
The reason I brought that story up, Tom, and it's beautiful that I know so much about where you come from as a runner, because when we got back here, we were out of the kind of Curra training environment where there were so many of us. We were forced to look after our own training, and I was terrified to go running with you, genuinely. And the reason I say that, and for those who don't know you, that your best run over a 10K is about 38 minutes, probably just about thereabouts, is it? Just less?
Somewhere in around that, yeah.
Yeah, so 38-minute 10K, I barely ran sub 25K there with a couple of weeks training, and I was suffering for about 4 days after, whereas you'll kind of decide to go out and run a 10K and run 38 minutes, which is super impressive. But with that reputation, then you were like, do you want to go for a run with me? And I'm like, Jesus Christ, no, I'm absolutely not going anywhere near. I'm not even putting on my shoes in the same room as you. And the reason I say that is because I suppose with our podcast, we're looking at people who have never ran before, And even when I tell people, oh, we have a running group on Facebook, you should join in. And most people's reaction when I say it now, which I find the most ironic thing, is, oh, geez, no, everyone's time will be so much better than mine, and I can't run 5K. But the reason I'm bringing up that you ran a 38-minute 10K is because you were the one giving the finger to the post at 2.2K. And my point is, whether you're 16 or whether you're starting at 28, you have to start somewhere. You're not going to be at that level. And it's, I suppose, do you have anything to say for people who are like getting into this?
Absolutely. And first of all, like, I'm not able to run, for example, a 38-minute 10K 12 months of the year. There's maybe a couple of months of the year where I'm able to do that because I'm investing a lot of time in it. But I remember, you know, and I also go through training lulls during the year where, you know, you get, I suppose, fed up of running or fed up of a different training plan, particularly if you don't have a focus. So, like, it's completely normal, I suppose, for people starting running for it to be very hard to get the motivation to go. But the big thing, I suppose, I always found was, and I even do it now if I'm feeling like that I don't have the motivation to go for a run, like, I suppose there's a lot of emphasis around times at the minute, as you can see via Instagram and people posting 5Ks and whatever. But like, there's days that if I wasn't fully feeling the run, but I still had to go out and do it, or I wanted to go out and do it, but I felt under pressure because of the time, I'd literally take off the watch and I just go out and I'd do whatever my body was able for, and I just get the time in. And like, the added effect, I suppose, is, you know, you're getting out and you're getting that run, and you're getting whatever it is for you out of that run on a particular day. Like, it doesn't matter who you are, X, Y, or Z, in the run, whatever times, it's you against you. And if you're wanting to progress your running, the best thing you can do is just get out and do a couple of miles. And that's whether it's a 1 kilometer or a 10 kilometer or whatever your eventual goal is, or if you just want to run and just improve your health and your fitness, you know. So it's just getting out, and I suppose setting those little goals for yourself to kind of encourage you to get out and get a bit of exercise done, you know.
Absolutely. And that's a mindset you kind of put into me when we were in here, because I'd be like, we'd have a big dinner or something, you'd be like, come on, we're going running. I'm like, absolutely not. No, like, the wind is coming from a certain direction, the sun is low, I've had a big dinner, every excuse would be coming out. But then that feeling of, I'd even tell, we came up in an arrangement where I'd be like, you'd wait for me at the finish regardless of how long I took. And off I went and just got the run done, and once I came back feeling really good about it. And I also noticed as well, and you probably noticed with me and you, that when we see people out doing like intervals, like a run a K, walk a K, run a K, but getting out, getting it done, you have a certain respect for someone who just gets out and gets it done. It doesn't matter the pace. Time is irrelevant. It's getting it done that's important. And that's something I learned from you when we started running together, that regardless, we'll talk on training plans now in a minute, but we didn't really have a plan. We just got out and got something done. We stuck to the 8K. We tried to get faster each time. Then the odd day we weren't feeling it, we went slower. And before we knew it, we were kind of putting together a training plan, but we didn't really. But that was kind of our introduction into running faster and stuff. And as you said, we got an introduction into endurance when we were in the Curragh, and that was all about getting it done. That was about going as hard as you could for as long as you could until you collapsed, which one day I may have.
There's a couple of good stories of you coming out after a collapse and after a couple of sessions.
Hard work.
But it does show, you know, I suppose, in that training element, how far you can push the body to the point, you know.
Absolutely. And you took that on a step further now when you went and did Sea to Summit for the first time in November. We were playing indoor football here, and you were flying yourself on a treadmill and a bike and preparing to run up a mountain.
Just a quick point on that. I moved away from GA, obviously, because what we were undertaking in work, and I couldn't risk breaking any hands or anything like that, or injuring myself. So I started to run more, and I was looking at the adventure races, and I was looking at the triathlon eventually, but the adventure race obviously is more doable because it's only cycle and run, and you only have to acquire a bike to go and do it. Whether you have one or not, you can beg, borrow, and steal and get it done. But actually, it's funny. I used to suffer a bit from injury with GA, but since I've gone and done the running, adventure race, and triathlon stuff, I haven't been suffering from major injuries. at the minute. But yeah, we went on, and I suppose actually my girlfriend is from Westport in Mayo, and her dad is a big cycler, and they have probably the adventure race, the biggest adventure race on the adventure race calendar, and the most established is 10 years running now up in Mayo, up in Westport, and it's a run, cycle, then run up Croagh Patrick, and then back down Croagh Patrick over very undulated ground. People taking a lot of risks, and a lot of I suppose it's a different type of event on the body, its impact on the body when you're going over terrain like that, and then hopping back on the bike, and then there's a short run then to the finish. But that was kind of my introduction to I suppose trending towards my goal of getting involved in triathlons, and I managed to pull you along then to the next event that we did, which was down in Glendalough.
You had this whirlwind of an idea that we both do Glendalough in April, and
it wasn't just me. We have bad influences of friends that are into stupid long distance events.
Stupid stuff. But,
really, we're just passengers in all this.
We were just put on our seatbelt and held on for dear life, really. But yeah, we just trained. We just did a bit of running, if I remember right, in the build up to that. We were quite good on our feet, but we didn't know cycling. And the first hill in Quest Glendalough is like a 6 kilometre climb that I would struggle to walk up, never mind cycle up. I remember cursing you for every turn and pedal the entire way up that hill.
I remember actually that because the cycle for Sea to Summit is predominantly flat, and we went down to Glendalough, and sure, you know, we were thinking it was fine heading down there, and you're driving down through a valley and you're like, it's going to be fine, and then realizing the first 6k you were cycling up a wall, and there was all these guys passing me in their 40s and 50s, like, and I'm like, what is going on, you know? So it kind of showed where we were at as regards our cycling at the time, and that it was an area we needed to address, I suppose, going forward.
Definitely humbling. I think
definitely.
Always say about it, we say the guys, and some of these guys with 40 and 50 and a big belly on them passing.
And pure power, and I suppose years of training on the bike, you know.
Yeah, just time on bike is better than no time on bike, and it's the same principle of just going for the runs better than no run regardless of time. Like, so we had that realization. We trained a bit then. We did Sea to Summit the next year. You dragged me along to that.
We did. We went on, and we've a good group of friends that are into kind of adventure races and endurance races. So we've actually nearly made it a yearly thing now, where we're going up to Sea to Summit. We're nearly making it a yearly thing now with a group of our friends, both male and female, lad, that are into the adventure races, and more people that maybe mightn't have been into fitness have been kind of following us into it and getting involved, which is also great as well. A friend of yours who doesn't do any training and just turns up to these events and does them, which is, you know, very commendable as well, and it's great to be part of. I suppose when we came out of the intro to Glendalough and Sea to Summit, then the two of us were kind of talking about maybe getting into the triathlon, and the big fear. Problem. The big fear, I suppose, the two of us had was the swimming. Now, bear in mind, you were a lifeguard or a trained lifeguard.
Yeah, lifeguard.
Buffer is more like what it was.
Like, I didn't even have to get in the water as a lifeguard. There was a big stick to pull them out. Like, it was well, I hadn't swam in I don't know how many years, like, and I wouldn't have been a perfect swimmer. I could swim, and I could carry someone in the water for 50 meters or whatever was required for the exam. And but since then, I've done nothing. And me and you were looking at a 17-meter wide pool, and we could barely swim in the length. Yeah,
and we set the goal for the Olympic distance was the first one, so it was 1,500 meters we needed to get to. And I was the same with the swimming. Like, I hadn't swam like properly since, I suppose, the majority of people maybe listening have done, you know, the bit of swimming during primary school or maybe the entry into secondary school. But as regards swimming lengths, I'd never done it. And we hopped into a pool in Tallaght, very close to us, an 18-meter pool. Two of us went in the first night.
18,
And at the time, I didn't have a fitness watch. I think you had the Fitbit.
Yeah.
And we hopped into the pool, and we did 2 lengths
And looked at each other with fear.
Of an 18-meter pool, and the two of us were in absolute bits, and we were wondering, was this ever going to be achievable, you know? But we stuck at it, in fairness, and I think we were going 3 nights a week for, you know, we started in January, and a tie was in May, which was our first triathlon. And
June bank holiday, wasn't it?
June, yeah. So, you know, there was a lot of time that we put into it, and we ended up joining the National Aquatic Centre then as the swimming got better. And, you know, we were able to get into do the 50-meter stuff. But I suppose the big takeaway point from that is anyone interested in getting into endurance, you know, you're not going to be able to do these distances starting off. Like, you just can't, your body won't let you because it's not familiar with it at all. But I suppose the more time, and if you're willing to put the development into your body to get up to these distances, you know, you can certainly get there no matter what level of fitness you're coming from, you know.
Yeah, big thing though, and this is the honesty circle. So this is our guilty confessions as opposed to honest athlete confessions. So we're either guilty or athletic. So we're gonna say guilty.
Yeah.
We were training, and then after the swimming pool, where were we going to eat?
We were going to McDonald's.
Yeah, every night.
And we'd actually sit in the car for probably 5 minutes, and like the McDonald's would be just off the route to back where we were living, and we would just justify over 5 minutes the amount of calories that we had burned for that given day. And we'd be picking up obviously maybe not obviously, but wraps of the day that were maybe €2.20. Yeah. We'd be sitting in a car park there and going, geez, I'm still hungry.
Yeah, well, we got it. Well, one thing we haven't really discussed on the Monday show, and I suppose there's varying people there, but one thing me and you have kind of sampled there, and we did try a little bit diet and stuff. But something you've got really into now this time around is diets and training.
The diet side of things, to be honest, my first introduction, and it was self-introduced to myself really, of nutrition, was I was doing a white collar event a boxing event in college, which was my introduction to anaerobic fitness, which is a completely different fitness again. But I think it was maybe an 8 or a 10 week kind of training thing, and obviously with boxing we were going into a ring with a guy, and I didn't want to lose, and I said that I was going to go all and I suppose I wanted to do everything that I could during that time, and I just got fully invested in it, and I looked into kind of the nutrition side of things at the time, and that was my introduction. And obviously if your nutrition is good and your training is good, well, you're going to get, you know, a positive output out of that. And I suppose for us training, and I kind of went away from it, and I didn't really revisit it again until maybe the end of last year and this year. And, you know, we were training triathlon last year, and all our meals where we're working, they're provided for us. So you're eating what you're getting now. It's high carb base. And what I used to struggle with on a day-to-day basis was it would make me quite lethargic to be eating a high dense meal of carbs. And I knew that my body wasn't really accepting it, because I would have to, like, genuinely, midday, I'd feel like I'd need to go for a nap for 20 minutes. And I became a professional napper where 20 minutes would stop the day. However, what I'm doing at the minute, and unfortunately COVID happened, but I was about 8 or 10 weeks into a Half Ironman plan for this May. I was going to do a Half Ironman in Lake Cultra, and I was going to do the double Olympic the following week in a tie. But I said that if I was doing this, I needed the nutrition to be right. And essentially the main points I suppose I can say is I cut out dairy, and I replaced it with kind of almond milk. I felt that dairy was having maybe a negative effect on me. And was added to that.
How did you find giving up cheese? That's all that's going through my head.
Now, I will say on this that I'm not 100% strict. Sometimes, like, I will have a drop of milk here and there. I might have a bit of cheese with a meal, but I wouldn't eat it to the extent that I was eating it before. Yeah. I also cut out complex carbs as regards bread, pastas, rice, and I just replaced it with veg. and you're getting far more of a nutrient basis from vegetables, you know. So as a result, I wasn't feeling as heavy or as lethargic. I had more energy, and then obviously with doing the training plan as well, like it was definitely assisting the training, and I found that I was peaking or getting better earlier than I would have been last year. But that's
me, myself, everyone knows, and I say every time, the only reason I train is so I can eat my takeaway on a Sunday and have
absolutely. And I think myself and yourself have had that
mentality for a long time.
Absolutely. Work to live and train to live is kind of what we've been going on. And you know, myself and yourself definitely enjoy having a pint and going out and having a bit of crack as well, and you know, having that takeaway here and there. And if you're into the training, it's a lifestyle thing. You know, if you're training, you know, a few times a week, it allows you and not feel guilty about it, I suppose,
absolutely,
to have those meals, you know. So,
but when you are talking about the half Ironman, I know for myself, half Ironman to come is the question mark. We do kind of have to start thinking about that. I think you're getting to a stage where you somewhere along the lines have to start treating the body right, as in fueling it right. And how did you research what you were going to eat over the next couple of weeks? Did you find it online, or how did you find out how you're going to go about this?
The original time I started this with boxing, I actually went to a nutritionist at home in Wexford, and I just got a bit of advice, and then I tailored stuff around what I was eating. And then this time, I suppose, what I did was did a good bit of research online, but I was also maybe self-aware of my own body and what worked for my own body. And I was only saying to you last weekend, I was sitting down on the Sunday and I wrote out my meal plan for the week, and I went to Lidl and pretty much bought all my shopping and just said, because at the minute we're working at half marathon plan at the minute, and just to bring a bit of focus to it, I suppose I said, right, this is what I'm going to eat for the next 4 weeks, and I'm just taking it on a week-to-week basis. Now, I also have, you know, meals on that could be like a salad, or I have like turkey burgers, but I allow myself to be like, okay, I can have turkey burgers, but I can do a variant of it. So I might do a stir fry with turkey burgers or something. So you can you can mix it up. You don't have to be full rigid, but so long you're staying within maybe what you outline for yourself, you're definitely going to see a benefit as regards training. By the way, I'm not a nutritionist, so don't
eat salads and blame God.
And I do believe it's on an individual basis, and everyone's body works differently, obviously, you know. So
yeah, and I suppose it's something now that I'm kind of tied down, obviously, where I am. I haven't got my own kitchen. I'm reliant on the food that's provided, and it is a good standard of food. But like you said, I can't pick and choose to cut out the complex carbs. But with people being at home so much, I'm noticing a lot of people doing their own cooking, and I'd say it's something that people would get into experimenting with and seeing how their body is with less carbs and how hungry they get with less carbs. You know, like now that comes with a health warning as well. There could be serious rows with diet. We're not advising you to go on
the side point is my girlfriend is currently in Westport for the last 4 weeks, so she's not having to deal with me not being able to have my 3 slices of toast in the morning. So yeah, but your body definitely adjusts, and it is eventually going to have definitely a positive effect on you, you know.
Yeah, and it's brilliant. And as you said, probably the next little while, myself and yourself, we're on the half marathon training program now, just to see how we go. We're trying
just with the COVID restrictions, you know, we can't get out for those long cycles, and we can't get for the swims. So the running is really what we can get to do at the minute, and we were kind of saying that the half marathon is a good aim at the minute, I suppose, to progress the running.
And who knows, we might see in a couple of weeks, me and you might throw down some rules for an old half Ironman challenge, and we might look into genuinely see what way it opens up, and if anyone has any advice would like to join in,
there's another guy that you're potentially bringing on next week who already did a half Ironman last weekend, so I'd say he'd be fully on board to doing something like that.
Woke up on a Sunday and did a half marathon, or a half Ironman, not even a half
Ironman. Yeah, he replaced
just because it was Sunday. Yeah.
We
will. Yeah, actually, that's a good idea. We might get him on next week.
I'd be fully game for that. Yeah, it'd be great.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, we'll see what way we can. We might even start documenting what way we're eating and see what way it goes for us. Tom, absolutely brilliant talking to you.
Yeah.
Nice because it's kind of like when we chat, when we ring, we do talk about training. Probably not as formal because we know people are listening and backstories and probably a lot more F words and other words and that normally.
We kept it clean.
That's the main thing. We did it for the listeners. But no, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you sharing your story.
Thanks for having me.
And hopefully people listening can understand that you can't be the 38 10K without running past the 2.2K with your finger up and seeing the progress. And that's what it's all about. And me and you are testament to it's just all about getting out there. And that's the most important thing. And listen to your body. And it's done us well. And now we're going to take it to the next level and see how far we can actually go, really. Isn't that it? Absolutely.
Working to live, train to live, and it's a pure lifestyle, you know.
Yeah, and hopefully we can meet up and have a couple of beers soon enough.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. The sun is shining in. The sun is shining in here at the minute.
They're not going to drink themselves.
They're talking to me.
Tom, thanks so much for your time. As always, thank you all for listening to another special episode on Thursday's Any Given Runday. I've been Eric Lawless. He has been Tom Dixon. Thanks so much for your time, and we'll tune in for a regular Monday show when me and the guys get back together to discuss some of our further training developments and see how Aaron is getting on with his lovely new shiny watch, and hopefully he's actually started using it. But thanks very much. Thanks for listening. Take care.
Thank you.